Hi, I'm Father Claudio Bergoletta. I work at St. Aedan's Parish and at St. Peter's University. I'm the Superior of the Jesuits of Jersey City. Today I'd like to share some thoughts about the Feast of the Conversion of St. Paul that we celebrate on January 25th. St. Paul is not a saint we normally associate with the Jesuits. St. Peter, after whom the university is named, and who was the first pope, is more associated with the Jesuits. We Jesuits take a special vow of obedience to the Holy Father to go where he sends us. Today I'd like to say why St. Paul is very Jesuit, and also offer some practical reflections on what his conversion might have to say to us. St. Paul, like St. Peter, were the patrons of the church in Rome, great apostles. St. Paul is known as the apostle to the Gentiles. He preached all over the Mediterranean world. We Jesuits consider that to be the ministry of the word, and that's something that's very important to us too. As apostle to the Gentiles, St. Paul sought to take the Christian message, which was originally a Jewish message, and enculturate it into the Greek world. That also is important to us Jesuits, to bring the message of the gospel to the cultures of different peoples. Finally, St. Paul wrote a lot about the Spirit, how the Spirit gifted the church with many, many ministries. And St. Paul valued the unity that the Spirit brought about. The Spirit is very important for Ignatian spirituality. Discernment, paying attention to how the Spirit is moving and leading us, is a hallmark of Jesuit spirituality. And this week is the week when we pray for Christian unity. And so it's very appropriate too that we remember St. Paul and what he has to say about the unity that is a gift of the Spirit. I'd like to conclude with some thoughts about what the conversion of St. Paul has to say to us. If you read St. Paul's conversion story as it's told by St. Luke in the 9th chapter of the Acts of the Apostles, we are reminded that St. Paul was a zealous Jewish man who was convinced that he was doing God's will by persecuting the Christians. On his way to Damascus, he experienced a profound conversion where he heard the voice of Jesus asking him to stop persecuting him in the early Christians. St. Paul was blinded by a bright light and eventually made his way to Damascus, where he found Ananias, who instructed him and helped him to embrace baptism and conversion. That story of Paul's conversion reminds us that our conversion is a journey, that we're not converted once and for all, that with the help of the Spirit, we can come to a deeper awareness of where Christ is really present. Paul's conversion also reminds us that we need help on our journey of drawing closer to Christ. We need the help of people like Ananias in our lives, who will explain things and help us to understand how the Spirit is at work in our lives. And we also need the help of the sacraments, of prayer, and of a community. With those helps, like Paul, we can come to a clearer vision of where God really is at work in our lives. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.